Even when you follow all the basic care steps for your clematis plant, you may still find it struggling to thrive and produce the beautiful blooms you were hoping for. It is not a particularly challenging plant to care for, but there are a few common mistakes that can hinder its growth and flowering potential right from the beginning. In this video, we will discuss 7 setup mistakes that many gardeners unknowingly make when planting and caring for clematis. These mistakes can prevent your plant from flourishing and reaching its full potential, even if you have been growing it for years. By the end of this video, you will have a clear understanding of the key setup decisions that can make a significant difference in whether your clematis plant simply survives on its trellis or thrives with an abundance of blooms. For more in-depth plant care insights based on science and reasoning rather than guesswork, consider subscribing for more valuable tips. Clematis is often viewed as a delicate plant that requires careful handling. However, this reputation is not entirely accurate. While it does have specific setup requirements that are often overlooked in general care advice, once these are addressed, the plant's biology takes over to ensure its health and resilience. Factors such as buried backup buds, deep root systems, and dormancy patterns all contribute to the plant's ability to thrive. Of course, proper watering, sunlight, and time for establishment are still essential, but understanding and meeting clematis's unique needs can lead to a successful and beautiful garden addition. The 4th secret in this video involves a pruning technique that may seem drastic, but is essential for certain plants to avoid becoming leggy and bare at the base. And the 7th secret focuses on a specific type of clematis that may appear completely dead by midsummer, but under the right conditions, can actually be revived. So stick around for that. Tip 1. Plant deep for underground backups. When planting a clematis, it is important to avoid the common mistake of planting it at the same depth as the pot it came in. Clematis has dormant buds on the stem that remain inactive at pot depth and only become active when buried below the soil line. By planting the root ball 5 to 8 centimeters, about 2 to 3 inches, below the surrounding soil level, you can ensure that these dormant buds are utilized, providing the plant with a contingency plan if the above-ground stem is damaged. This decision made during planting is crucial, as it allows for additional nodes to be buried along the stem, each serving as a backup point for the plant to regrow from in case of damage. By incorporating this simple technique into your planting process, you are essentially providing the plant with its own built-in contingency plan for its entire lifespan. This practical approach to planting clematis is a key factor in ensuring the long-term health and resilience of the plant. By taking the time to plant it properly, you are setting the stage for a successful and thriving garden addition. Tip 2. Protect the feet. For optimal flowering, clematis requires 6 hours of sunlight per day. Many people mistakenly assume this means the entire plant, including the roots, needs to be in direct sunlight. However, this is not the case. While the top of the plant thrives in the sun, the root system underneath does not. Clematis roots are shallow and delicate, similar to those of a fern, and can quickly dry out and overheat in soil that is exposed to direct sunlight all day. When the root system is constantly exposed to heat, the plant expends its energy on staying hydrated instead of storing reserves for future growth. To create a more suitable environment, shade the base of the plant with a flat stone or paving slab placed directly on the soil. Alternatively, plant low shallow-rooted companions like hardy geraniums or hostas near the stem to provide natural shade. These methods help maintain a cooler temperature at the base of the plant compared to exposed, sun-drenched soil. It's important to note that these tactics are not overly finicky requirements for clematis to thrive. They simply mimic the natural light conditions the plant is accustomed to, where it would climb through shaded hedgerows with its base shielded from direct sunlight. By incorporating these practices, you are not making the plant more delicate, but rather providing it with a familiar buffer it can benefit from. Protecting the roots of a clematis from excessive heat does not eliminate the need for watering during dry periods. However, it does provide the plant with a safety net so that missing a watering session does not result in detrimental effects for the entire season. Tip 3. Lay down a generous mulch layer. Many gardeners only think to add mulch as a finishing touch to their planting beds, but its benefits go beyond just aesthetics and weed control. A layer of organic mulch, such as shredded leaves or compost, about 2 to 3 inches deep, can significantly impact the health of your plants. This mulch serves as a protective barrier over the buried backup buds and shallow root systems of your plants, helping to regulate soil temperature. Without this layer, the soil around these crucial parts of the plant can be subjected to drastic temperature swings throughout the day, which can stress the plant. Mulch helps to stabilize soil temperature, protecting the roots and buds from extreme heat and cold. When applying mulch, be sure to leave a small gap of several centimeters between the mulch and the main stem of the plant. Direct contact between the mulch and the stem can lead to excessive moisture buildup, creating conditions for crown and stem rot to develop. The mulch should be focused on protecting the soil, not the stem itself. By ensuring the correct depth of mulch and maintaining a gap between the mulch and the main stem during planting, as well as refreshing the layer annually, you can set your plants up for success without constant monitoring. Tip 4. Pick the right pruning group or do nothing. Pruning clematis properly is essential for maximizing flower production. There are 3 main pruning groups based on when the plant blooms and what type of wood it blooms on. Pruning the wrong group at the wrong time can result in loss of flower buds or an unattractive plant. Group 1 consists of clematis that bloom early in the year on last summer's growth. These should be left alone, except for removing dead growth. Pruning will remove the buds that have already formed. Group 2 includes large flowered hybrids that bloom in late spring on old wood. They should be lightly pruned in late winter, cutting back each stem to a strong pair of buds. Group 3 blooms late in summer on growth from the current season. These should be cut back hard in late winter or early spring. If you are unsure which group your clematis belongs to, simply observe its flowering pattern for the first year. This will help you determine the correct pruning method for future seasons. While cutting back a Group 3 clematis may seem drastic, it is necessary to maintain a healthy and attractive plant structure. Tip 5. Provide thin supports early. When supporting a clematis plant, it's important to keep in mind that it climbs differently than many other vine plants. While some plants have tendrils or twining stems to grab onto structures, clematis relies on wrapping its leaf stalks, or petioles, around slender supports. Therefore, it is crucial to provide a support system with narrow slats, beams, or mesh that are no wider than a pencil. To ensure successful growth, it is recommended to install wire, plastic netting, or narrow gauge mesh at the time of planting, rather than waiting until the vine has already begun to sprawl. The gaps in the support system should be thin enough for the petioles to fully wrap around, similar to the width of a pencil. For those with a solid trellis, adding wire or netting on top will provide the necessary structure for the clematis to climb effectively. By establishing the right support system during planting, you can avoid the need for constant maintenance throughout the growing season. Proper support allows the clematis to climb independently without the need for frequent retying or propping up fallen stems. Avoiding this common mistake will save you time and effort in the long run. Tip 6. Feed the roots, not the leaves. Many people either overlook feeding their plant altogether or use a standard fertilizer that they apply to all plants in their garden. However, clematis is a plant that requires frequent feeding, and using a generic or nitrogen-rich fertilizer can lead to excessive leaf growth at the expense of flowers. This results in a vine that looks full but produces fewer blooms than it should. To properly nourish your clematis, work compost into the soil around the base of the plant in early spring before new growth begins. This will increase the organic matter available to the roots throughout the growing season. When flower buds begin to form, use a fertilizer with a higher potassium and phosphorus content than nitrogen, such as those designed for roses or tomatoes. Avoid fertilizers high in nitrogen, which are typically used for greening up lawns or leafy vegetables during this time. Proper feeding is an ongoing process that not only supports current growth, but also builds up reserves in the plant for dormancy and future seasons. By feeding your plant correctly, you are providing it with the necessary nutrients for optimal flower production without making the plant overly dependent on fertilizers. This natural approach allows the plant to utilize the nutrients effectively when it needs them most. Tip 7. Do not panic over wilt. Clematis wilt is a common issue that can cause a clematis vine to appear collapsed and dead, when in fact, the plant may still be alive. This wilt is caused by a fungus called California clematidina, which affects the stem and leaves of the plant and does not impact the roots. Many people mistakenly assume the plant is dead and remove it, but that is often not the case. If you notice your clematis vine has collapsed due to wilt, it is important to cut down the affected stems to soil level and remove the cut material from the area to prevent the fungus from overwintering in old plant debris. With patience, new shoots may emerge from the buried buds beneath the soil within a few weeks, allowing the plant to grow and climb again during the season. However, it is important to note that not all cases of sudden collapse are due to clematis wilt. Other factors, such as slug damage, physical breakage, or root diseases like Phytophthora root rot, can also cause a similar appearance. In cases where collapse repeats annually, or the plant's crown feels soft and mushy near the soil, it may indicate a root issue rather than wilt, and cutting back and waiting may not resolve the problem. Remember, a collapsed clematis does not necessarily mean the plant is dead. It is simply a test of whether the support structure you have provided for it is sturdy enough to allow the plant to thrive once again. Achieving optimal growth for your clematis plant involves several key steps. Firstly, ensure you plant the clematis 2 to 3 inches deeper than the pot to promote strong root development. Secondly, provide proper shading at the base of the plant while allowing the top to receive sunlight. Additionally, apply a 2 to 3 inch layer of mulch around the plant, leaving a gap at the stem. Identifying the correct pruning group for your specific clematis is essential for its growth and development. If unsure, refrain from pruning until you have determined the appropriate group. Use a support system that is thin enough for the plant to grip onto as it grows. When feeding your clematis, prioritize potassium and phosphorus as buds begin to form. In the event of wilting, refrain from immediately pulling the plant out. Instead, cut back the affected areas and allow the plant to recover. By implementing these 7 steps, your clematis plant will transform from challenging to resilient. Share in the comments which step you found most enlightening, or if you have encountered a clematis plant that appeared dead but later revived. If you found this information helpful, consider liking the video to support our channel in reaching more gardeners in need of guidance. Thank you, and see you in the next video.